at Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James. Now, a couple weeks ago, we covered on the show. You guys know the story. LeBron confronted Stephen A. for comments that he made about his son, Bronny James. Stephen A. just stood there and he took it, and he was pretty apologetic about how he made some comments about him as a father, and it felt like they had kind of resolved it and they were going to kind of let it die out. And then Stephen A. Smith, he appeared on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he had some comments about the whole incident and LeBron James. And here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
You had called me and said, Bron pissed off. Motherfucker mad as hell. He wants to see you man to man. I said, what would I have done? Rich Paul said, you'd have hung up the phone and you'd flew to LA. I said, thank you. So my point is, rather than come up to me at courtside, all you had to do was say, yo, I need you to stay. Don't leave this game. I need you to see you after the game. That's all he had to say to me. Then as we speak, he says that. Let's take an example. He said what you just said. Yeah. I stand down. My bad. And not only that, I'm going to make sure I go on the air. I ain't look at it that way. That's on me. You didn't do that shit. You said you fucking with my son. No, I wasn't. I was talking about you. I was talking about you. Wasn't about your son. I know he's number 55. I know he got work to do. Woo. I believe that he got potential. Yeah. I believe that he got the potential to go pro. I truly believe that. It's going to be tough, but I think he could pull it off.
So there was Stephen A. Smith, and his whole point there is that he wasn't directly attacking Bronny James. He wasn't bringing up his point totals or his field goal percentage or his numbers in the G League or anything like that. The fact that the crowd chants MVP and he's essentially the Lakers' victory cigar because he only plays when the Lakers are up big or anything like that, right? He was pointing out that LeBron James has essentially put him in this position, and he set his son up for extra ridicule that he doesn't think that he would normally have if he was any other kid's son in the position that he's in. And if I'm LeBron James, look, it's pretty simple. It's gloves are off. It's we're throwing hands if you're calling me a bad father. Period. End of story. And I have no issue. Here, this is the weird thing. I have no issue with what LeBron did, and I have no issue with what Stephen A. Smith did. But the only issue I do have is Stephen A. Smith acting like the tough guy after the fact. I said it on the show where we broke this down initially that he was Chris Tucker from Friday, and LeBron James was Debo, and he was Chris Tucker, and he was saying, I'd be playing mind games with LeBron. When he's here, I'd be quiet, but when he leaves, I'll be talking again. That's exactly what Stephen A. Smith has done in this situation. So I really don't look, personal story. I cover the Dodgers. I've had players confront me in the clubhouse for things that I've said, and my face, it turns into a tomato, and I blush and I get nervous and I'm not happy about it. Right. Having said that, this is the route that I chose, right? I have my opinions. That's all I got. That's all I got in life is my opinions and my takes on this stuff. And there's two routes you can go. When Stephen A. Smith was with the Philadelphia Inquirer, he was a great, people don't know this about, like some people don't realize this about Stephen A. Smith. Like he was a tried and true journalist with a capital J for a long, long time. And you can push boundaries, but it's kind of just about being the paper of record, right? Telling you the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, giving the facts, what happened. But when you go from being a journalist to entering the takes business, people don't pay you or watch your shows because you're just telling them the facts. They want your unique opinion on said matter. And sometimes that opinion can ruffle some feathers and rub some people the wrong way. So this comes with the territory of having bold takes like Stephen A. Smith. But I think the resolution to all this is just keep Bronny's name out of your mouth. Keep LeBron's father abilities out of your mouth. Because what he's essentially saying is this. To me, what Stephen A. Smith is essentially saying is this, is that Bronny would be a G League nobody if it weren't for you. And that you forced this onto him. And it's almost like you didn't take into consideration what Bronny wanted. Did Bronny want to stay at USC? Did Bronny want to transfer somewhere and play in college? Did he want to be an anonymous G League type of guy? Because the truth is, if Bronny James's name was like Chris Smith, right, and he played for USC, he wouldn't have been drafted. He wouldn't have been signed by a team for the G League based on his skill level the year that he had at USC. But having said that, you're Bronny James and LeBron James, your dad. People are going to take a flyer on you based on that alone. So I have no issue with both of them. I really don't. My issue I have with Stephen A. Smith not being the same tough guy in front of LeBron.
Yeah, I would say, I think my biggest issue with what Stephen A. said was him calling like LeBron like it was a weak thing to do. And the reason I don't think it was a weak thing to do is because like he did it in front of your face, you know, like he walked up to you as a man and said, listen, like
no towel.
Yeah, like not. Yeah, and the thing is too, you know, most guys, they cover their mouth to say something. Like he was very like, you're talking about my son. I don't appreciate it. And there's that. And so, yes, Stephen A. Smith may felt like it was a weak move, but I don't think it was weak to stand up for your kid. Like you felt like you were disrespecting your kid. And everybody has a lot of opinions about Bronny James. And the reality is the one issue that I have, and you know, Stephen A. is one of my, you know, the people that I chase in this industry to be like one day. But in saying that, you know, when you go on your own show and put a low light of Bronny playing against the 76ers, as you talk about him, it can seem kind of personal. And then you go on TV and say, as a father, I'm pleading with you. But D-Mac, nobody asks, did Bronny not want to be in the NBA? Did Bronny not want this for himself? Because I'll say this, he's averaging 21, 4, and 5 in the G League. And regardless if they took a flyer on him or not, there's guys who were drafted before and after him who not even.
You bring up a good point. I love J. Rod. You bring up like you looking up to Stephen A. Smith. I look up to him too because he is setting the market and getting the biggest bag for this industry. Right?
You know what's possible now.
If Stephen A. Smith was my dad, right, and I was just graduated college and he got me a job hosting a show on ESPN, I'm like, let's ride, baby. Let's do it.
I'm not stopping.
Show starts at 2. You might hate it, but I'm gonna take that opportunity just because, like, who's gonna say no to that?
And the other part, doesn't he put his nephew all over his show now? His nephew has become a viral hit on the internet. And who gave him that opportunity? That's literally nepotism. You know what I'm saying? Dwayne Wade bought a NBA franchise for his son. We never talked about it. Nobody ever cared. You know what we did? We applauded D Wade for it. We applauded it.
So here's the thing though. Like my whole thing is, and we've talked about it on the show before, is there's like 3 guys in the history of this game that you would do a wink handshake solid for. LeBron James, one of those guys. If the Lakers where they were last season, with the way that LeBron James still plays at this stage of his career, with the Lakers looking macro, big picture, yelling to all the superstars in the history of the game, come the Lakers, sign with us. Demand trades us. We'll pay you. We'll take care of you. You'll live in a beautiful mansion in Southern California. We want that to be our identity, the ultimate superstar franchise. If LeBron James wanted the Lakers to take Bronny with their first round pick,
they would have took him.
They would have done it, and I would have done it. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
This is one of, like, maybe the only guy, right? I mean, MJ's son, no, right? He wasn't even there. But MJ, if he wanted to, I'm sure a team would have. Right?
For sure.
100%.
For sure.
Right? So
he could have drafted him to he was the owner of the Hornets.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think, so the cool thing about this is I will say this. There has been, like I say, I did say that, I thought Bronny James would retire before LeBron James. I've had my fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, like, I think that the good thing about this for Bronny James, and I think LeBron is one of the most intelligent, one of the most calculated
for sure
superstars in the history of sports.
I agree.
And I think you bring up a great point that it was almost like I was surprised not to see like an undisputed not an uninterrupted logo on this incident, because it felt like LeBron knew the camera was there and he knew this was going to go viral and get out. And kind of one of those things for LeBron, it's almost like, hey, now people are kind of on Bronny's side now. Now people are like, F Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. Look, either a father, you have a father, you did it. Like, people connect with that, right? So I think almost LeBron is kind of doing this thing. Like, hey, like, now people want to say, Bronny scored 12 points. F you, Stephen A. Bronny coming off the bench next year, giving him good minutes. F you, Stephen A. Smith. So you kind of created that same thing. And hopefully this makes life easier for Bronny James. At the end of the day, like, it is a tough thing for Bronny, but I'm like, Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, what's the you have generation wealth, you're a billionaire, you know,
Exactly.
good looking dude. Like, I mean what's
seemed
his
like a good
floor?
kid.
What's his life floor? You know what I'm saying?
Life
Like,
floor is millionaire.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's
He could
you know,
probably be an actor after if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He could do whatever he wanted after this.
he'll be the coach of the Las Vegas Vipers, right?
He could be a streamer.
Could be a
go back to
streamer.
FaZe, like if he wanted
I
to
saw
coach at
someone
USC,
asked
he
him. So
probably
there was
could.
someone that asked him a crazy question on his stream about Wade.
Wade?
Yeah, what was that?
That was back in the pandemic when he was going live, but you know, people get carried away with NBA children trying to match them.
In all seriousness, I mean, Noel,
Yeah.
you're a thoughtful guy. You know, the father thing, it kind of strikes a chord.
100%. I mean, and I respect Stephen A for saying this off the bat, that the man that came to him in that game wasn't a player, it was a father. Like, he wasn't saying like, don't talk about my son's stats, don't do this, don't talk about my stats. He was just saying like, keep my son out of it. Like, how are you questioning me as a father?
Right.
It's, I think you said it best too, Doug, that people connect with LeBron on this instance, either whether you're a father, whether you think about your dad when he's protected you, when he's been at your games. And yeah, I think LeBron knows what he's doing. And I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how the narrative around Bronny shifts moving forward.
Really, for sure, 100%. I think it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, like they're like Stephen A. Like, think about like Stephen A. Smith's identity, right? Like he's entertaining, right? But he also knows his stuff. But when the Cowboys lose, bro, you go on his Instagram.
Yeah.
You can't wait to try and just say, how about them Cowboys? Hopefully that'll be the same thing when Bronny James has a good game, right?
Yeah,
You want to go to Stephen A. Smith, like, oh, what do you got to say about Bronny James, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of flip the script on it. But